Hey, it's Becky with the Better Way to Homeschool. I am reading this book, Cure for the Common Life by Max Lucado, and it made me think of kids, and I wanted to share a couple things. One of the chapters in here talks about looking at your past to see where you're headed, and it's kids from a hindsight perspective. So I wanted to share a couple things with you. Let your kids snap. This one. When my now 18-year-old was, I don't know, 2, 3, decided he was going to snap. And he do it. He couldn't get it done. Spent an entire day trying that sound. And by the end of the day, he was a snap, and he was ahead of his even older brothers. He was able to snap before they did because he was determined to do it. And what did that translate into? When he was little, he was so focused, he would take all day to practice until he got it. He also was the same kid, loved those hiking carabiners. You know what those are? They're like the hiking clips that look like this. And he was the same kid that would take that clip and he would just look at the mechanics of it over and over and over and over. And what that translated into his life, that determination. Now he's 18. He's now a master guitarist. I mean, master musician. This kid can play anything on his guitar. And so when I look at him now and I say, oh, wow, he's this determined guitarist, this determined musician. When I trace it back to his early childhood, he was that determined. That meant that when he decided to start to learn how to play the guitar, he put in the time. He still practices for hours at his guitar. Another child is a linker. When you're talking about anything, any subject, any story, he instantly makes the connection between something that happened in history, and he can, this fast, find a book in the house that has absolutely something related to do to that thing. And what that child grew up to be is someone that is extremely detail-oriented and that comes together to see unrelated things and make a connection. He's our historian, and he has gone on to, he's now married, and he runs or manages a machine CNC shop for a big company. And he's able to put these huge together to do these fine things. I have another child that could not sit still. So how does this link together? Kids being so determined to snap, kids being able to make connections. I have another child that could not sit still, so much so that he would completely drive his older brother's batty during read aloud time. And if you followed anything anywhere, read aloud is a big. So to get this squirrely kid something so that we read. So I taught how to chain, and just a simple chain stitch. He was probably 4 at the time, and I challenged him to make the world's longest chain stitch, which he did. Well, it wasn't the world's longest, but it was really long, 175 feet long. And then I taught him how to actually crochet, how to add a row on, and we do that during quiet time. Now he's 15, and he not only crochets, he knits, and last year he started embroidering. And what does this add up to this child? This is the same child that last year told me, don't laugh, but I think I know what I want to be grow up. I go, oh, I'm not going to laugh. And I said, what? And he said, a cardiothoracic surgeon. Okay, what? I didn't even know that term, but cardiothoracic surgeon. And here I am looking at my son who has been developing his fine motor skills, sewing since he was 4. And now he may choose to do something else in life, but I can see that the development of his fine motor skills and his ability to sew could very possibly knit into his future. I have another son that if there's a bug or a butterfly or a cloud, he pauses and he just looks and he contemplates the universe. And when I look at him, it was like that his entire life. Butterflies, bugs, bees, cocoons, leaves, plants, spiders, rainbows, everything captivates his imagination. And he now is 17 and is almost like he's halfway done with his Associates of Science degree at 17. And he's well on his way. I was just asking yesterday, what is it that you think that you want to do? And he was the one saying, well, I'm still contemplating particle physics. Particle physics. Okay, I don't even know what that is. I said, well, what is that? And he started to explain it to me and it just went over my head. But it's knit into who he is. As I'm reading this, The Cure for the Common Life, you can see that you are knit together. Your story, your talents, the things that you do, the gifts that you have, all make up who it is that you are being molded into being. It's in your being. My last child, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had my snapper that turned into a master musician. I had my linker that is my historian. Oh my gosh, you say anything and he can connect it to anything in history and he knows what he's talking about. My sewer, my very busy body boy that crochets, knits, and embroiders and is on track heading towards being a cardiothoracic surgeon. I have my observer, he is the one that had major medical issues when he was little. And so much so that we threw out our bed that our kids would not watch TV when he came along because he needed to be safe so that he wouldn't cause damage to things. Anyway, so watched an unbelievable amount of television, Veggie Tales and that kind of stuff. And he observed the story and he would act it out somewhere in my house as a video of him just running through this whole elaborate scene with Buzz Lightyear, that video game. I think it's in Toy Story 2. Whole scene, and he's around and he's hopping and he's doing and acting it out and absorbing story. How did that work out into his character? Well, he loves movies, loves story. He turned out to be a writer, a screenwriter, a director. He just graduated with his bachelor's degree in video, I forget what his degree is called. But anyway, he is a screenwriter and an actor and a producer and is in the process of forming his own production company. What? Okay, so the 2-year-old who was obsessed with snapping turned out to be the master guitarist. The now 28-year-old that was fascinated with finding in the house that had to do with the exact topic that we were talking about turned out to be the historian that is now totally rock solid in his life. That couldn't sit still is now, he can sew, he can knit, he can and he's on his way to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. The one that can't walk by a butterfly is now contemplating particle physics and how that can work together into his future. And the one that was obsessed with Veggie Tales and story and learning about writing is now a screenwriter, a producer, and well on his way to having his own production company. And I think the thing that I want to share with you is that I didn't make this happen. My husband didn't make this happen. These future things are knit into their fabric by the creator of the universe. And yet, when I look back into their life, I can see the fingerprints of the making all the way back to when they were little. the making of the historian, the making of the scientist, the making of the screenwriter. I could have never told you that that's what would happen. Instead, as a young mom, I saw a kid that was obsessive. Obsessive. He obsessed over this carabiner clip. He wanted it everywhere he went. He needed his carabiner clip, and he snapped like the best snapper on the planet. This child always interrupted every lesson that I was teaching to go find the book to show me the picture that made the connection. Drove me crazy. This child could not sit still. And all I was trying to do was get him to sit still in a quiet way so that I could read to him. This child, oh, I don't know how many times I'm like, dude, can you come on? It's okay. It's just a butterfly. It's just a leaf. It's like, if I could see where they are today, I may have tried to force these things. But instead, I want to encourage you to see your kids where they are and to allow them space to be who they are and to enjoy it. I mean, I look back now and I think it's funny that he was so obsessive compulsive about Snap. And I think it's amazing that in the middle of talking about anything, that this guy could run and pick the proper book to make the connection historically. I think it's fantastic in a society where people that want to be surgeons no longer have the fine motor skills necessary to be a surgeon. I think that's fantastic. And I think it's amazing for somebody like me that really doesn't care about things like particle physics to have a particle types kid in my house is unbelievable. And I think it's fun to have a screenwriter and a playwright and all that right up in my own house. So embrace what your kids are doing. And everybody is created to do something different. You know, when I look back as I'm going through and I'm reflecting on this whole idea of the fact that there's a sweet spot in our life where we are most fulfilled, most happy, and are created to do something that other people are not created to do. And I think about my own self and I think about my own passions, and I can see them all the way back to when I was little. I always pretended to be a teacher. I always knew I was going to be a mom. So I'm always practicing being a teacher and being a mom. I was the first to volunteer, the first to be up, always setting up my little classrooms and things. I made little work and stuff for kids all the time. For as far back as I can remember, I made learning activities, mazes and puzzles and word searches and fill in the blanks and all this stuff. And now that's translated into everything that I do as an adult. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a homeschooler, I'm a printable creator, and I can see inside like what kids are doing. Like I just love it. So when you look at your kids, don't be the obsessive compulsive kid. Know that that is being knit into them for a purpose. You know, the daughter that reorganizes her closet every single day might end up growing up to be some kind of a master organizer or designer. The kid that can't sit still may turn out to be an amazing ballerina, or the kid that can't get his eyes off of the things of the ocean or the way that plants work might turn out to be a great explorer or a photographer or a doctor. These things work together to be, they're knit into what kids are going to be. And I'm guessing that if you look back at your life and you look at the times that you are the most content and happy and feeling like, oh, this is exactly what I was created to do, you're going to see that fingerprint all the way back into your life, into childhood. And so embrace it. Let your kids snap. Let them link. Let them sew. Let them observe and let them act. And take note, because they're on the path of what they're created to do. And don't stop them. If I had stopped my son, he would not be. If I had made my son sit there and not go grab the book, he would not be the master historian. If I had made my son sit still he first would have driven everybody crazy, himself included, but he would not have developed his fine motor skills. And if I had not let this kid observe, to slow down and to observe with, and to say, wow, he might not be on the same scientific exploration journey that he's on right now. And if I had not let this child run around and act out every single story, he might not be the amazing screenwriter and playwright and creative writer that he is today. And so I encourage you, let your kids snap, let them link, let them sew, let them observe, let them act, and embrace the whole journey. Because wow, I never saw it coming at the beginning. I never saw today, but it's fantastic. So anyway, happy homeschooling, and I'll see you soon.